So when I was 15 years old, I lived in the middle of nowhere in Maine, in a little town called Oxford. And we lived on, I remember our address was 3060 Rural Route 1, which pretty much just meant we lived in the middle of nowhere. So I was 15 years old, and I remember my mom and dad had decided that as a family we were not going to have a TV in our house. So besides having nothing around me, because I lived on Rural Route 1, I also couldn't even watch TV, and we weren't allowed to have Nintendo or anything like that either, and that was just coming out. So I remember going outside, and we had tons and tons of woods out behind our house, and so I remember asking my dad if I could build a log cabin, and I meant like a real log cabin. And the cool thing was, out in the woods behind our house, it was mostly pine trees, because that's kind of Maine's thing. But there were some pine trees that were like 6 inches around in an area that had some really big pine trees. And these were a whole bunch of like 6 inch around or so that never quite got up to the canopy to be able to get enough sunlight to live. And so they died off. And so my dad said, as long as they're dead, you can cut them down and you can build a log cabin. So I remember spending the entire summer of my, I guess it would have been sophomore year, after my sophomore year of high school, building a log cabin. And I will say, it was really cool. Like, by the time it was done, I had built, it was probably, I could certainly stand up in it. My dad could stand up in it, so it was more than probably seven feet tall or so. Had a roof on it. I remember spending $11 to buy tar paper to put on the roof, and I slept in that place for probably the better portion of 3 weeks at the end of the summer, just because I was living in my own cabin. It was really cool. Bummer part, it ended up that I had to tear my log cabin down less than a year after it was built, because my parents were informed that they were going to have to pay taxes on this structure existing on the property, and so I sadly tore it down, and that got used for firewood that winter.